All right, well, I got a couple of stories for you this morning, boys and girls, and I pulled two of my very favorites out. This one is called Clay Boy, and it is a Russian folktale, and the author's name is Mira Ginsburg. And boys and girls, a folktale is a story that has been told for many years. A folktale is a story that is told by one generation, and then they tell the story to their children, and their children tell the story to their children. So it gets passed down from one generation to the next. And folk tales are a lot of fun. Some of my favorite stories that I like to read are folk tales. This one is told by Mira Ginsburg. And I did a little research this morning to find out about this author because I've been reading this story for 23 years. It was published in 1997. And I looked up Mira Ginsburg because I didn't have any other books by her. And I found out that she was born in Russia in the year 1909. If she were still alive today, that would make her 111 years old. She passed away in the year 2000. She almost made it to 90. And she came from Russia and came to the United States as an immigrant and loves to tell folk stories and folk tales. And this was the last book that she ever published, and it's called Clay Boy. So I'm going to read it to you now. Just giving you a little heads up. It's just a little bit scary. So just giving you a little warning. Luke, don't be worried, man. You've got this. You got this. Yeah, right. Okay. Just teasing you. Okay, here we go. The story of Clay Boy. In the village where I was born, there lived a long, long time ago an old man and an old woman, the grandpa and the grandma. One day, the grandpa found a little piece of clay and he fashioned it into a little clay boy. He put the clay boy by the fire to dry and said to the grandma, "Our children are grown up. They live far away. We'll have a new child now. We won't be alone anymore." So the little playboy dried out by the fire, and suddenly that little playboy, he moved his hands. And then that playboy, he moved his feet. And then the little playboy jumped up and he said, "I am here. I am hungry." So the grandma gave him milk, the grandpa gave him bread, and in a wink, the playboy, he gulped it all down and then he cried, "More! I want more!" The little playboy, he ate and he ate and he grew and he grew and he ate up all of the food in the house, and yet still the playboy cried, "More! More!" But they had no more. So the playboy, he gulped down the chickens. And then the playboy, he gulped down the geese and the cat and the dog. And the playboy, he got bigger and bigger and bigger. Then gulp, he swallowed the grandma. And then gulp, he swallowed the grandpa. And then thump, thump, thump. The clay boy went out of the house on his big clay feet, and then thump, thump, thump. The clay boy walked down the street. His wife was working at he met two women bringing water from the well. Gulp! You will. Swallowed those women and their pails and all. He met a peasant with a wagon load of hay. Gulp! He swallowed the peasant and the wagon and the horse and the hay. Thump, thump went the clay boy, and gulp, gulp went the clay boy. He swallowed everybody he met till there was nobody at all left in the village, and yet still he cried, "More! I want more!" He came out into the field where he saw a little white goat with golden eyes grazing on top of a hill. "Oh!" he cried, "I found more food. I'll eat you now." The little white goat looked down at the clay boy and he said, "I'm ready. You can eat me if you wish, but do not bother to climb the hill. Just close your eyes and open your mouth, and I'll jump right in." Well, the clay boy, he closed his eyes and he opened his mouth and he waited. And the little white goat bent down his head and he aimed his horns and he took a great wide leap straight at the big fat belly. Crash! The clay boy broke into 100 billion million pieces, and out tumbled the grandpa, the grandma, the chickens and the geese, the cat and the dog, and all the neighbors, and the pails and the cart, and even the horse and the hay. Everybody laughed and sang, and they danced around the little white goat. They painted his horns golden to match his golden eyes. And they said, "We shall never forget how the clever little goat saved our village from the greedy old clay boy." And they told the story to their children and their children's children. I heard it from my grandmother, who was a child of a child of a child. And now that I've told it to you, it is your turn to tell it to all who will listen. The story of the greedy clay boy. You guys are so much fun. I can't tell you how much I enjoy coming into your homes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and bringing exciting people. And I'll have to be honest with you, though. Today I was excited just to read you some stories. So we have another guest on Wednesday, a very, very famous storyteller. His name is Lane Knighting. He's a good friend of mine, and he's going to come on Wednesday with some stories. So make sure you come back on Wednesday. Would it be okay if I read you just one more story before we finish up today? If you're okay with one more story, show me a thumbs up sign. Okay, this is another one of my favorites. I've been reading this one for many years, and I used to read it to my children when they were your age. It's called Incredible Ned, and this boy is incredible, make no doubt, and you're about ready to find out why. The book was written by Bill Maynard, and it goes like this. Incredible Ned. You could see what he said. Everything that he spoke appeared over his head, or right next to his chair, or a few yards away, and friends would all shout, "Ned, we can see what you say." When Ned said gorilla, the kids all jumped back, for they saw a gorilla, and they feared an attack. And when Ned said bananas, Bananas were there, on the stove, in the sink, in his hair, everywhere. If a word that Ned said was the name of a thing, that thing might float by on the end of a string. He could say and or the and have nothing to fear. It was words like baboons that made baboons appear. It started when Ned was a child of just one. His father came home and asked, "What has Ned done?" And his mother replied, "Well, it may sound absurd, but today was the day that I saw his first word." "You saw his first word? You saw his first word? You saw his first word? Don't you really mean heard?" That problem began on his first day of school. Every time that he spoke, he felt more like a fool. When the things that he said appeared over his head, or on top of his desk, or a few rows away, then his classmates would shout, "We can see what you say." When Ned said giraffe, you could see a giraffe, and its neck was so long it made everyone laugh. When Ned said parade, one appeared by the wall and marched straight through the class and out into the hall. No wonder the children didn't get their books read. It was so much more fun just to watch what Ned said. Then his teacher complained, "We're not getting work done. With young Ned in the class, school is much too much fun. I can't get him to stop. Every day it gets worse. I will have to get help. Ned must go see the nurse." "Are you sick?" asked the nurse. "Are you blowing your nose? Have you started to sneeze? Are there pains in your toes? Have you eaten too much? Have you had any spills? You might need some time off, Ned, or you could need some pills." "Some pills," said poor Ned, and the room quickly filled with some 4,003,200 pills. Pills that covered the desks and the chairs. What was worse, there were so many pills that they covered the nurse. "I can't help," said the nurse. "So I'm glad Ned stopped by. He's not sick. It's a trick. Let the band leader try." Maybe Ned's a musician, the band leader thought. He might sing. He might play. He just needs to be taught. When he asked Ned to name all the things in a band, all the things filled the class. There was no place to stand. "I can't cure him," he said, "and I think I know why. It's his words, not his notes. Let the French teacher try." "Zut," the French teacher said. "Ned needs new things to say. Words like bonbon for candy and jour for play." But when Ned said bateau, that's the French word for boat, you could see a bateau. It was real. It could float. And when Ned said voiture, that's the French word for car, the class saw a voiture. This was going too far. Ned's poor teacher was now at the end of her rope. So far, no one had helped, but she had just one last hope. For there was one last someone who wasn't the same. So she made one last call, and the principal came. The principal? Wow! That made Ned feel real sad. When the principal comes, then you know things are bad. I hope you don't feel that way, boys and girls. In your school, she's the law. In your school, she's the boss. And the last thing you want is for her to feel cross. Ned, the principal said, I will have to be stern, for we want the class calm so the children can learn. And whenever you speak, the whole class comes apart, since you can't seem to stop what you didn't mean to start. I have made up a rule that should satisfy all. You'll say nothing at all, Ned, or go stand in the hall. Say nothing at all, or go stand in the hall. Ned must never say bat, not even say ball. And that's it, Ned decided. I guess I won't speak. And he sat there in silence for almost a week. Till the art teacher came on her usual day, and they told her why poor Ned had nothing to say. Oh my goodness, she said. Let me stop those complaints. And she gave Ned some pencils and papers and paints. And she watched what Ned did, and she liked what she saw. When he picked up a pencil and started to draw, he drew fish, he drew birds, he drew flowers and trees, he drew lions and tigers, he drew monkeys and bees. What is that? Asked the teacher. A lion, Ned said, and nothing but nothing stowed over his head. What is that? Asked the teacher. A tree, Ned replied, and nothing but nothing appeared at his side. The art teacher smiled. She could understand Ned, and she knew why those things had shown over his head. Ned's an artist, she said. That's what Ned's all about. When your head's full of pictures, they just have to come out. Now, to show those great pictures that lived in Ned's head, Ned didn't need to use words. He could draw them instead. Because painting and talking are equally real. They're just two different ways to show folks how you feel. And as long as Ned colored and painted and drew, he could speak just like me. He could talk just like you. And nothing he said appeared over his head or right next to his desk or a few yards away. And his classmates complained, Ned, we can't see what you say. But at times when young Ned is at home late at night, when he's opened his window and turned out his light, with his pens put away and his paint on the shelf, when he's sure he's alone, he'll say moose to himself. And a moose will appear at the foot of his bed, and he'll know that he's still the incredible Ned. Incredible Ned. Boys and girls, it is so good to see you this morning. I hope you enjoyed those two stories. Those were two of my very favorites. Don't forget, on Wednesday, we have a very famous storyteller that is coming to join us. And today I'm going to be meeting with some of your teachers, and we're going to come up with a plan so that you'll be able to get all of the things that you've left at school, since we didn't know that we weren't coming back when we broke for spring break. So we're going to come up with a plan that we're going to communicate. And part of that plan is going to be, how are we going to distribute these bumper stickers so you can have one. One of our families, the Zacher family, They gave us these. It says, "We are learners, inquirers, we are family, community, we are Zahara strong." And we are. We've got this. You will remember these days, boys and girls, for the rest of your lives. You'll always remember when school was at home, and you'll tell your children about what it was like when we were going through this season with this virus. But I have good news. It's not going to last forever. We're already starting to see signs of change for the good. And oh, when we come back and we have our first day of school back in the building, buckle up. It is going to be so amazing. We're going to make it so extra special for you. You are going to be so excited, and I can't wait for that reunion. I can't tell you how much I miss you and how much your teachers miss you. And we are a family. And we're not just a school, we're a Zahara's family. And just know that you're loved and you're so important to us. And I'm just glad that we have this technology that we can still visit, even though we're not gathering in the same place. So until Wednesday, I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. And thank you so much for joining us today. And Zahara strong. We've got this. See you later, boys and girls. Bye-bye.